If you owned a phone before 2010, there is a good chance it was a Nokia. Pretty much everyone's was. In 2007, Nokia sold about 4 out of every 10 phones on Earth. Not 4 out of 10 smartphones. 4 out of 10 phones, period. For 14 straight years, it was the #1 phone maker on the planet. At its peak, worth around $250 billion. One company carrying a huge slice of an entire country's economy. It was untouchable. And then, in about 4 years, it was gone. The crown, sold. The phone division, erased. The brand that lived in every pocket on Earth turned into a museum piece. You have probably heard the famous line. A Nokia boss, close to tears. We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. It gets repeated in business schools, in boardrooms, in 1,000 videos like this one. There is just one problem. It is a lie. And believing it means you miss the real reason Nokia died. Because they did do something wrong. A lot of things. Let me show you. To understand the fall, you have to see how insane the climb was. Nokia did not start as a tech company. It started in 1865 as a wood pulp mill in Finland. For over a century it made paper, then rubber boots, then cables. A boring industrial company from a freezing corner of Europe. Then, in the 1990s, it made a bet. It dropped almost everything and went all in on mobile phones. The timing was perfect. The world was about to go wireless and Nokia was ready. In 1998, it passed Motorola to become the biggest phone maker in the world, and it stayed there for 14 years. If you were alive in the 2000s, you lived this. The Nokia ringtone, the game of Snake. Phones you could drop down a flight of stairs and keep using. One of them, the Nokia 1100, became the best-selling phone in history. Hundreds of millions of units. By 2007, Nokia still controlled about 40% of the entire phone market. They had the factories, the brand, the talent, the cash. They had everything, which is exactly why what happened next should have been impossible. In June 2007, a man in a black turtleneck walked on stage in California and held up a slab of glass. The iPhone. And here is what everyone forgets. Nokia was not scared. Inside Nokia, the reaction was almost a shrug. The iPhone was too expensive. Bad battery, no real keyboard. To the kings of the phone world, it looked like a toy for rich Americans. What makes that painful is that Nokia had touchscreen prototypes years earlier. They had already glimpsed the future Apple was now selling, and they shelved it. Because when you own 40% of the market, why gamble on something risky? Why break what is printing money? That question, why change what works, is the most expensive question in business history, because the threat was never one phone. In 2008, Google launched Android, and the real danger snapped into focus. Apple and Google were not selling devices. They were selling ecosystems, app stores, software. Outside developers building things that made every phone more useful. Nokia thought in hardware. Apple and Google thought in software. And Nokia's software, an operating system called Symbian, was built for the age of buttons. In a touchscreen world, it was clunky, and for app developers, it was a nightmare. The best hardware on Earth bolted to software from the past. By 2010, the panic reached the top floor. Nokia brought in a new CEO, Stephen Elop, the first non-Finn to run the company and a former Microsoft executive. In February 2011, Elop wrote a memo to his staff that leaked to the entire planet. He compared Nokia to a man standing on a burning oil platform, forced to jump into the freezing sea just to survive. His words, "The first iPhone shipped in 2007 and we still don't have a product that is close to their experience." He was right. But what he did next is what actually finished them. Facing the fire, Elop had a choice. Put Nokia's phones on Android and join the winning side, like Samsung was about to do, or bet everything on Microsoft's Windows Phone, which almost nobody used. He chose Microsoft, and it gets worse. By publicly declaring Symbian dead before the new phones were ready, he told the whole world to stop buying Nokia phones right now. So they did. Sales did not just dip, they fell off a cliff. He warned about a burning platform, and then he poured the gasoline himself. Now watch how fast this goes. The stock, around $40 a share in 2007. Within 2 years, under 10. By 2013, under 5. More than 85% of the company's value gone. Then the symbolic kill shot. April 2012. Samsung ships about 92 million phones in a single quarter. Nokia ships about 83 million. For the first time since 1998, Nokia is not number one. The 14-year reign is over. That same stretch, the rating agency S&P cuts Nokia's debt to junk. In a single quarter, the company bleeds close to €1 billion. And then, the end. September 2013. Nokia sells its entire phone business to Microsoft for about $7.2 billion. A company once worth $250 billion sold its crown jewel for a sliver of that. The cruelest part? It did not even save the phones. By 2015, Microsoft wrote off about $7.6 billion, more than it had paid for the business, and cut nearly 8,000 jobs. The Nokia phone, as a product, simply stopped existing. So go back to that famous quote, "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." There is no solid record of any Nokia CEO actually saying it. The tearful photo people post next to it usually is not even Nokia's CEO. It is Microsoft's Steve Ballmer. It is a comfortable, poetic myth, and it is worth asking why it spread so far. Because it lets everyone off the hook. If Nokia did nothing wrong and still lost, then the lesson is useless. Sometimes you just lose. Bad luck. But that is not what happened. Nokia saw the iPhone and dismissed it. It had touchscreen tech and buried it. It had the money, the factories, the brand, the engineers, and used none of it in time. It clung to software it knew was dying. And when it finally jumped, it jumped onto the one platform almost certain to fail. That is not bad luck. That is a chain of choices. And here is the part that should scare you. Nokia did not fail because it was weak. It failed because it was strong. 40% market share, record profits, 14 years on top. Those were not just rewards, they became a trap. Every warning inside the company got drowned out by another quarter of huge numbers. A company that big, that profitable, that certain, simply could not picture a world where it lost. That certainty is what killed it. There is a name for this, the innovator's dilemma. The very things that make you dominant, your scale, your profits, your culture built to protect what works, are the exact things that blind you to what is about to replace you. The most dangerous seat in business is not the underdog with nothing to lose, it is the king with too much to lose to change. Nokia still exists, by the way. It quietly survived by retreating to what it does best now. Network equipment, the unglamorous backbone of 5G. But the phone, the thing that once lived in every pocket on Earth, is history. So the next time you see a giant that looks untouchable, posting record profits, certain it has nothing to fear, remember Nokia. And ask yourself one question. Which untouchable giant of today is making the exact same mistake right now? Because the graveyard always has room for one more.